Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, then please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. So the Cleveland Browns take on the Chicago Bears in week 15. I keep forgetting if it's week 15 or week 14. I am joined by Alex today, week 15, there we go, I've just seen it come up on my screen. Joined by Alex today, Bears fan, to talk all things about this game. If I'm completely honest, I'm not going to make him talk too much about the Browns because that would be very unfair to force anyone who is not associated with the Cleveland Browns to talk about this team for longer than they need to. But before we get into this game, get into the Bears, Browns, etc., how are you doing on this fine Saturday morning, Alex? Well, Saturday midday now.
Yeah, not too bad. The sun's out. It's cold, but
Sun's out, but cold.
it's cold here. But it's not as cold as it's going to be in Chicago.
No. Yes, I'm sure we will get into what the weather forecast is for this game.
Right. Yeah, doing okay. Feeling a bit deflated after the end of the game last week against the Packers, although there were quite a lot of positives to take from it. But yeah, gutted right at the end with that pick.
Yeah.
Just to round it off. But yeah, otherwise not doing too bad. Can't complain too much with the way things are going this season.
Yep. Yeah, I imagine so. Before we get into this game, you kind of touched on it a little bit there, but going into this season as a Chicago Bears fan, you've not made the playoffs since 2020, I believe. Even the Browns have made the playoffs more recently than that, which is, of course, not a good thing for any team to have on their record. What were your expectations coming into this season? Obviously, after Caleb's rookie year, obviously the whole Matt Eberflus disaster, in my opinion. I don't know why he was even kept on for Caleb's rookie season. You bring in Ben Johnson, I'm sure that brings in excitement. Where were you at going into this season?
Yeah, I mean, I was really pleased with the signing of Ben Johnson as a new head coach. I thought that was a real positive. But as always, I was trying to temper my expectations because it's quite easy to jump on the hype train and think this is going to be our year, when usually it's not. So I was expecting sort of an improvement on the previous season when they lost like 10 in a row. I was expecting or hoping for sort of like an 8 and 9 sort of season.
Yeah.
Sort of things. Just something where we were looking competitive and winning some games, or winning more games than last year. But I mean, after the first 2 games, I thought it was going to go completely Pete Tong as per usual.
Yes.
But yeah, now we've had that 9-game win streak. I couldn't help but get a bit excited and get those expectations raised up. Because we've been brought back down to earth a bit after the Packers game, although there were some positives in that. So yeah, before the season, just a competitive season where hopefully a winning record. At the moment, expectations are hopefully a playoff game, and I think that's still a realistic expectation as it stands at the moment.
Oh yeah, I think that's a more than fair expectation.
I know, I don't want to get too ahead.
I know we've got a Browns fan and a Bears fan here. There's going to be a lot of, we don't want to go all in because we've seen our teams. It's the hope that kills you, and it was a crazy situation last weekend where you guys were the number 1 seed in the NFC, and just by result of one loss, you now are the number 7 seed.
Yeah,
that's a testament to the NFC North, I think more than anything. But how does that kind of feel? Obviously, being the 1 seed one week and then the 7 seed the next.
I mean, 7 seed feels more realistic for the Bears.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to have that bigger drop, but it's just testament to how close the conference as a whole is. I mean, the top half of that, the NFC is just quite tight at the moment. We've got the Bears, you've got the Packers, you've got the Lions, all in the north. You've got the Eagles are struggling a bit at the moment, which is helpful. It's got the 49ers and the Rams are the ones on top at the moment.
Yeah.
And the 49ers are a team not to be sniffed at as well. So it's going to be hard going to secure that place. But yeah, it was nice to be on top for a bit. Have a bit of bragging rights for a week or so to say.
Well, yeah. I mean, you guys haven't had bragging rights in that division for quite some time. Don't get me wrong, not quite as long as we haven't had bragging rights in my division. I've never seen my team win the division. But I suppose. I mean, I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it to you anyway. Um, Obviously, it's probably going to come down to the Bears, the Packers. I mean, the Packers have probably pulled away a little bit, but the Bears, Packers, Lions for that last spot, I think it's going to come down to one of those NFC teams.
Mhm.
Would you rather the would you rather the Bears cause the Packers to fall out the playoffs, or would you rather cause the Lions to fall out of the playoffs?
Oh, Packers.
Yeah,
It's always the
I
Packers.
thought I knew the.
I mean, yeah, I know the Lions have been beating us recently, but the Packers have caused just so much pain over the years. And then, yeah, I'm not underestimating when I say I hate the Packers. There's one team I don't want to see do well, it's the Packers.
Yeah,
But yeah, but I like them not to do well because the Bears are beating them. That's what I'd like to see.
yeah,
But yeah, I'd rather see the Lions get in because they're a bit more like the Bears. They've had quite a long period of not much success.
yeah.
And they're enjoying their success now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Ben Johnson, if he was asked, he's probably the only person in Chicago that would probably say Detroit, just because obviously coming from there and what that would mean for him. Just to give a bit of context, I was a massive Ben Johnson guy. I thought that was an unbelievable hire for you guys. I thought you should have done it the year before. I was a big Caleb Williams guy. I do an NFL podcast with some other lads, and we have a bit of a running joke that I'm essentially the resident Bears fan because of my fandom for Caleb Williams. Was high on him coming out, still high on him now. Even with the criticisms that he does face here and there, I still think he's one of the more talented quarterbacks I've seen enter the NFL. So just to touch quickly on Caleb, how have you seen his improvement from his rookie season to this season?
Yeah, there's been some. I mean, just going back to like you being a fan of him before. I happen to be a USC fan in college football, so I was
Wow, okay, small world.
Perfect combination. So I was super excited when the Bears were going to pick Caleb because he's just got some phenomenal playmaking ability. And yes, that rookie year had a lot of ups and downs. And we get the worldy, amazing passes, and then we get some just the odd ones that just sail over the receiver's head. And that was a struggle last year and this year. I mean, last year the big criticism for him was he was holding onto the ball for too long, and he does do that. He tries to escape the pocket and extend plays, sometimes foregoing the quick out or the underneath pass, trying to look something bigger when he maybe shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I think he was the most sacked quarterback in the league last year. Part of that was down to him, I think, and quite a big factor of that was the offensive line in front of him last year. The offensive line this year is very much improved. He's having a lot more time in the pocket, although there are some pass rushes that are really getting into, like the Packers last week, which is destroying that. But he's worked on his his escapability seems to have got even better. Just the way he can sense the pressure coming from either the front or either side and just duck out of that. Doesn't always end well, but quite often it does. So I think there's been improvement there. I think his footwork's got a bit better. Still needs some work on that. There's still some throws from some where his feet aren't set or he's off platform. Sometimes he's just jumping midair.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan style.
Yes.
Just chucking those. But yeah, I think his relationship with the receivers is getting better. He's always had a good one with Rome.
Yeah.
Dunze, although that's obviously Dunze's been a bit off this season. We had a few drops and things, but he's been struggling with that stress fracture in his foot, which should be back for this week.
Yeah.
And now we've got the emergence of the rookies, Luther Burden and Colston Loveland, which is looking good as well. But yeah, I tell you what has improved as well. It's just not a measurable metric, but that clutchness in the fourth quarter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So many of these games, these wins we've had this year, have come down to those last 2 minutes, or the fourth quarter, those last 2 minutes, and those drives where we need to rely on our quarterback to put us in position to either kick the game-winning field goal or get that score. And he has done that. He even did it last week against the Packers. It just that the timing on that last pass was off, unfortunately, and it lost the game. But yeah, that is improving. But yeah, if he can get his overall accuracy and completion rate just up a bit, then I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be the biggest knock for him. I think that a lot of people, I mean, a lot of I like to call them box score watchers, people that aren't aren't paying too much attention to the game but love to read the box score at the end of the game, and that's obviously what a lot of people are going to point to. Which, don't get me wrong, you can't be completing less than 60% of your passes in the NFL. We all accept that, but there is context behind it. I don't think it is just a matter of this is a really inaccurate quarterback. Obviously, 57%, you would like that to be more. But I think you mentioned it there. The biggest thing for me is his decision-making and escapability, etc., and not taking those sacks. Because, I mean, you mentioned it last year, 68 sacks that he took on the season. That led the NFL, 20 this season. And, yes, there's 4 games left, but I highly doubt he's going to be sacked 48 times in those last 4 games, although you are playing Myles Garrett this week, so you never know. But, I think that's what is the biggest thing from me, from what I've seen from last season. It's that growth and, his escapability. I spoke about this when he came out. I likened it to, don't get too offended by this comparison. I'm only just talking about the escapability. But Deshaun Watson, one of these guys that even as bad as he was for the Browns, the one thing that you could not take away from him was his escapability still. And I think that Caleb Williams is one of those quarterbacks that just has that in him. He just has that knack of shaking guys off and is able to create plays that make you go, wow. And you mentioned it with some of those throws, some of the, yes, we don't want to see him throwing off platform, but every now and then when he jumps in the air and throws one of these sidearm, passes, it does look pretty cool. As much as you don't want him to do that, it does look pretty cool. But Caleb, I'm a big fan of, and another quarterback for my team that, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying should have any comparisons to Caleb, but someone that I do think struggles with some of the similar issues that Caleb did coming out, i.e. footwork, holding on to the ball too long, etc., etc. Of course, I'm talking about Shedeur Sanders. As a non-Browns fan, as someone that, is kind of being away from all of the drama that is the Shedeur Sanders stuff within Cleveland this year, how have you viewed, A, kind of how the Browns have brought him along, and then B, in what you've seen of him since he started these last 3 weeks?
Yeah, I thought the whole quarterback situation for the Browns was a bit peculiar and a bit messy. Because when you drafted him, was Watson still on the active roster?
Yeah, still is. Still is.
Yeah, and you've had Flacco in there, and then Dylan Gabriel, and then Shedeur. Yeah, it was bizarre, and it sort of felt like you brought him in to sit as a backup. Obviously, all the QBs who've started this year have had a bit of a struggle. But he's whatever you think of Shedeur Sanders, and I know there's some quite strong opinions on him as a person and as a player. He has got some playmaking ability. Again, going back to college football, watching quite a bit of Colorado, and in a similar vein to what Caleb was in his rookie year, his offensive line at Colorado wasn't great. He was getting sacked a lot, and he was having to dive out of the pocket and escape a lot, but he was making those plays, and he had that strong connection to Travis Hunter, obviously, which was a help. But yeah, from his first game for the Browns wasn't great. That was a struggle, but then he was sort of thrown in at the deep end then.
Yeah.
But his 2 starts since, especially last week, even though it was a loss, he looked very strong. And again, if you look at the box watchers, will be very pleased with the stats that he put up in that game. And you couldn't really complain with the way he played in that game, and he didn't cost the Browns the game. But yeah, he's got that ability to make the plays when needed, to use his legs and get out and about if and when necessary. But yeah, I think it's just coming down to consistency as well for him, and just again consistency, decision making, and things like that. I don't know what the plan is for the Browns. Do you think that they're going to the plan is for him to continue as starter, or is this whole season just been sort of like resume building for each of the quarterbacks in their QB room?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I mean, I just did a video on my channel yesterday about this of kind of, can Shedeur Sanders stop the Cleveland Browns from drafting a quarterback? And this isn't just a question that I've had this week. This is a question that we had a week after the draft, because we brought in these two rookies, a third and a fifth round pick, into the what was arguably one of the worst quarterback rooms in the NFL. No one is, you could be the biggest fan of Shedeur Sanders, the biggest fan of Dylan Gabriel. No one is sat there going, well, yes, a third and fifth round pick we've sorted our quarterback situation. We obviously made the trade in the first round to get another first round pick this year. So I think everyone kind of knew that the Browns had one eye on potentially drafting a quarterback. And it was more so just if any of these two rookies could maybe stop them from doing that. Dylan Gabriel, of course, did not. I think we saw enough from Dylan Gabriel in his 6 starts to know that he is a backup at best, which is okay. I'm more than fine with that, with a third round pick if that is the case. But Shedeur now, it's really tough. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think there's really anything he can do to stop the Browns from drafting a quarterback. I think if they're in position and they like one of those guys, I think they're going to do it. But I suppose what he can do is physically play them out of a quarterback. If he can go and win 2 of these last 4 games and play them out of a quarterback in terms of the draft position, then maybe with some good performances along with that, you do feel comfortable going with him next season. I think that's, of course, the biggest question that we have as Browns fans. And, of course, you brought that up because I think that's what everyone else is also wondering as well, is there actually anything Shedeur can do to stop this team drafting essentially his replacement? It's an unfair situation both rookies have been put in. You basically got 2 mid-round picks, 2 mid to late round picks, and you've said, right, we're going to give you 6 games to prove that you can be the franchise quarterback. Not really the best, situation for any quarterback to be in, let alone a third or a fifth round pick. So that's kind of where we're at with it. These final 4 games, I want to see Shedeur play well. Best case scenario for me is that he does prove he's the franchise quarterback, because then you got a fifth round pick that you can build around. But I think it's more so just seeing what we can in these games. And that leads us to this game, obviously the Bears versus the Browns. And I'll be completely honest with you, Alex. I'm probably rooting for your team to win this just as much as you are, because at this point, when you are a 3-10 football team, I'm not a tank guy. I'm not someone that goes into the season going, let's tank. Even if Caleb Williams is waiting at the end, I'm not going to say let's go into the season and tank. But when you're 3-10, I don't really see the difference between finishing 3-14 and 5-12. The only difference, of course, is the draft pick. So for me, I just want to see Shedeur Sanders play as well as he can, and the Browns lose these games in the most fun and close way possible and can improve their pick.
Oh dear, I don't know if I can ever agree with want my team to lose, but I get the sentiment behind it. But yeah,
I should preference by saying it's all well and good me saying this, and I've said this in other weeks, but every single time I sit in front of my TV on a Sunday, yes, I can't sit there and actually actively root for them to lose. That's too hard for me as a British person. But I suppose I'm partly joking, partly serious. I suppose for anyone wondering, my serious opinion on it is I'm not exactly bothered about winning these games. Not so much that I am rooting to lose these games, but obviously you're on the opposite side of that. You are really hoping you can win this game. This is probably the most winnable game left on your schedule.
I'd say so, yeah, because we've still got the Packers and the Lions again, and the 49ers left to play. So,
definitely the most winnable game left.
This is the one, I mean, not to be too harsh, but this is one you'd circle as a win when you're looking through the schedule, especially as the way the season has gone so far.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily going to be easy, and it also has the potential to be a trap game on it as well, because obviously, like what happened with the Packers when they played the Browns. You managed to shut them down enough to eke out the win there, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen with the Bears. But they struggled last week establishing the run which is going to be crucial in most of these wins against a strong Packers defensive front. Now they're coming up against a very strong Browns defensive front. So this may be another game where we do need to rely on the passing game a bit more if we can't get a Swift and Malungai going like the Clappers like they did 2 weeks ago against the Eagles.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a winnable game if we compare the two rosters. The Bears should come out on top, but I think it's going to come down to the trenches essentially. And what sort of game your man on the jersey behind you has, of Myles Garrett?
Yeah.
Worried about, because I mentioned before the offensive line has been much better for the Bears this year, and the Bears O-line is solid all the way across from the right tackle from Darnell Wright, solid. And you've got Jonah Jackson, solid. Drew Dalman's had a great year. Joe Tooney, absolutely solid. And then we've got left tackle, which has been a big question mark, where we had Theo Benedict to start the season. It didn't work out brilliantly, and now we've got Ozzie Trapillo, who's doing okay, but also letting in some big players go, and that's probably exactly where Myles Garrett's going to be lining up on that side. So yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few times that Caleb's going to be running for his life, and I'm hoping that, like you said, he does make the right decision in what he does with the ball in those situations.
Yeah.
The Bears need to do something to contain that, and then on the flip side, we're going to be wanting to put as much pressure on Shador as we can. But unfortunately, the weakest part of our defense has been our pass rush. Montez Sweat is coming into it a bit more at the moment, but still not quite as much as we'd like. And players like Javon Dexter and Billings and that they're okay, but they're not spectacular in getting to the passer, which we could really do with, because our secondary is like playing out of its skin at the moment. And I think that's going to be a big issue for Shador. Yeah, I'm hoping we managed to secure takeaways or picks from the secondary in, I think, pretty much every game this year, and we're leading the league in takeaways.
Oh, by a long way, I think.
Yeah, so I'm hoping for multiple picks. So yeah, and we've got Jalen Johnson's back. Been back for a couple of games now. Rick Stevenson looks like he's back and healthy, but we've lost Kyler Gordon again.
Yes.
Which would have been a big help last week, but he was injured in warm-ups, and now looks like he's going to be put on injured reserve.
Yeah, he's been ruled out for this game.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of mentioned it there. I think you've got like 4 of the top 6 interception leaders this year. It's actually wild what you guys are doing.
I know. And 2 of them weren't even on the roster last year. Like we got Sean Wright's just come in and it's been like the first couple of games like ooh.
Yeah.
Then Al Harris, our secondary coach, has just done a phenomenal job about turning this unit around with all the injuries we had at the start of the season, and bringing the best out of players like Sean Wright, who is just turned into a pick 6 threat the whole time. He was the one who pulled the ball out of the Eagles' tush push. And got that, and then Kevin Byard, who's came to Chicago at the tail end of his career as an old man at 31, 32, however old he is, from Titans, and he's just playing at a Pro Bowl level as well now. So yeah, if they can keep that level up, I think it's going to be hard work for Shador. It's just getting that pressure up front.
Yeah, I mean we've got 10 interceptions on the year.
Yeah.
Kevin Barnard that you just mentioned there has 6 himself.
Yeah.
You guys have 18 interceptions on the year. So as you said, kind of running away with that stat. But you kind of mentioned him earlier there. Again, same with the Packers question. I know the answer to this, but Myles Garrett is obviously the number one thing that you're concerned about when you play this Cleveland Browns team. To be honest, I'd argue it might be the only thing you're concerned about when you play this Cleveland Browns team. But, you know, I can try and do it justice talking about Myles Garrett on my channel as the Browns fan. You know, I believe that he's the best player to ever play for the Cleveland Browns. I believe he's the best defensive player in the league. How do you view Myles Garrett as a Chicago Bears fan, as an NFC, fan of an NFC team that doesn't get to see Myles as much? How do you kind of view him?
Well, he can be a potential game wrecker, and I think I mean, I know there's chat amongst Bears fans that if the Bears had a player like Miles Garrett on their roster, they'd absolutely be a championship caliber team. And he's exactly the sort of player that any team would want on their team, and we desperately need. But yeah, he is just a generational player at that position. I don't think you can argue that there's anyone better at the moment. I know, like, you've got players like Micah Parsons that is playing well at the moment, but just for consistency, he's just constantly good. Yeah, you've got like Micah Parsons, you've got Max Crosby and things like that, but he is always able to get through and get at the quarterback.
Yeah,
which is
I mean,
what you need from that.
20 sacks this season, 4 games left. He needs 3 sacks to break the record. Yeah. I'm hoping that Caleb does fall into some of his older ways in this game and takes a few of those unnecessary sacks, that, you know, and we can get Miles closer to that record. But, you know, that's the only route to the Browns winning this game for me is the defense. You know, our defense has been the one bright spot of this team all year. Don't get me wrong, they've had games where they've been shaky, but that's to be expected when you're playing with, you know, one of the worst offenses in the NFL, if not the worst, and not just one of the worst special teams, one of the worst special teams in NFL history, in terms of the advanced stats behind it. So obviously, any Browns fan looking to win this game, you're looking at the defense, you're looking at that defensive line going up against, obviously, Caleb and that offensive line. You mentioned getting your run game going. I mean, a few weeks ago, you guys ran for fun all over the Eagles, and obviously last week that took a little bit of a step back. The Browns' run defense has been pretty good this year. Yeah. It's been pretty top of the road. However, last week, the Titans seemed to run all over us and had a lot of success. Tony Pollard had more yards before contact in last week's game than he did the rest of the season combined. So that is, of course, a worry for the Browns defense, and obviously going up against this Bears team, that does slightly worry me. But as I said, I think the only way the Browns win this game is we have one of those Myles Garrett performances. We have one of those performances from this defense where they just don't give Caleb Williams any time. They're able to stop the run, keep this game close. And then you mentioned it earlier, the weather in this game is, of course, going to have a big impact on both quarterbacks as well. The last time I checked, Alex, I think it was minus 10 degrees Celsius, our form of reading temperature, which whatever the conversion that is in Fahrenheit, forgive me, I don't know. But essentially, it's going to be very cold in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely cold. It's going to be probably numb, frostbitten fingers and toes weather, which, like you say, is going to make it more difficult for the pass game. I expect both teams are going to lean quite heavily on the run, especially early on.
Yeah.
But yeah, potential for fumbles and interceptions and things like that. You know, I don't expect it to be a spectacular offensive game. I would like it to be, but I don't expect it to be. So yeah, this could be another sort of like 13-10, 10-7 sort of game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just hope it's the Bears that come out on the right side of that.
But it's funny because, I mean, you know, we played the Titans last week, and I think everyone was expecting that to be one of those 7-2 games. Yeah. And that finished with 60 points, which, of course, was quite a surprise. But, I mean, don't get me wrong, the weather for that game was not what it is for this game. So I've got the weather up right in front of me now, and I was actually doing it a disservice, Alex. Minus 15 Celsius is what is currently forecasted, with a wind chill up to minus 25. So that's going to be very, very cold. This is going to be the coldest game that Shedeur Sanders has ever played in, I would imagine. This is going to be the coldest game that Caleb Williams has ever played in, I would imagine. I mean, I say this is going to be the coldest game that any of these players have played in. I think this is going to be one of the coldest games in Soldier Field history, which is saying something, as obviously Soldier Field being quite the frozen tundra, shall we say. But you've got two teams that play in cold weather. You know, Cleveland and Chicago, these are two of the most worst weather locations in the NFL. I mean, these are the two worst places to kick in the NFL, so I wouldn't expect many field goals in this game. But I've had this debate, and this is probably a little bit off topic, but I just want to get your opinion on this, because obviously the Browns have just, we're building a dome. We've had it all approved. We're moving into the dome. As a fan of a fellow cold weather team, how do you view the kind of dome versus playing outside in the cold stuff?
Well, it looks like the Bears are heading the same way, because they've put in, obviously, planning for a new stadium in Arlington Heights, which looks likely to have a roof, or there were plans to even put a roof on Soldier Field as well.
Yeah.
I can see the benefits of it. I mean, as a fan, it'd be nicer to sit indoors and watch your team.
Yes.
Rather than sit freezing your backside off. But I think it also takes away from a bit of the magic. Everyone loves a snow game.
Yeah.
There's a potential for a snow game. It's like, hey, let's have a snow game.
Yeah.
It's not always the best football, but it's always good fun to watch. But it sort of plays into the team's identities a bit as well. Like a cold weather team, like say, might be better known for playing like a harder sort of running game and things like that. And it does sometimes give you a slight competitive advantage when you get like a West Coast team come over or whatever, and they're not used to playing or practicing in the cold weather or on a frozen field. But I don't know.
I mean, you
prefer it to be ruthless, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, as British fans especially, I mean, if you're going to go over to watch a game, the last thing you want is to go over and watch a game in minus 15 degrees, minus 25 wind chill. We're British. We're usually okay with the weather, but I don't think we can deal with that. And you are right. When any other team other than the Browns, you're right. The identity stuff, the kind of your home field advantage. You look at the Packers, you look at the Bills, what they've been able to do. I mean, the Bills were that confident in their home field advantage that they built a new stadium and didn't even put a roof on it. So there are obviously teams that do that. But for the Browns, I've seen my team lose a snow game to the Saints. We've lost snow games to dome teams. Yes, they are cool when they happen. Last year we had the snow game against the Steelers that we won. Yes, I'm going to remember that game for a long time. But I do just think, you mentioned the benefits, especially if you do have a quarterback, which obviously I'm confident you guys do. I'm hoping that we do. I want this quarterback to be given the best opportunity, playing the best. I don't want to watch Patrick Mahomes playing in minus 25 degrees, really windy. I want to see Patrick Mahomes in a dome throwing the ball 60, 70 yards. But I suppose that's just me. But to kind of round off this game and obviously this matchup together, I mentioned there obviously the defense a little bit, but it's probably going to be your answer, I suppose. But what is the one thing that is worrying you about this game? Is it? I mean, it doesn't even have to be Browns, because obviously we're quite crap, so I don't expect to be many things. But what is one thing, whether it's with you guys or us? What's the biggest thing you're worried about in this game?
It is containing the pass rush.
Yeah,
I think we're really going to struggle with that. Containing the pass rush and just getting both the run game and the passing game going. The run game's been really good recently, but it needs to be running well this game. And the passing game just needs to be better than it was. And Ben Johnson said as much as well. That I think he said last week, it's all hands on deck for all players have responsibility to improve the passing game, which has been good, but not great. And at times, like the start of last week, wasn't good at all, and it just needs to be more consistent against all teams. I don't say especially against teams like the Browns, but yeah.
Don't worry. I've put up with it long before this season. But it's
get those things going. It'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to give, as I said at the start, it's kind of hard to get too motivated for these games as Browns fans when you're a 3-10 football team, and I don't think many Browns fans want to hear me talking X's and O's, etc., etc. But you hit the nail on the head. The Browns' route to winning this game, for any Browns fans out there listening that want the Browns to win this game, of course, is the defense. That's where it starts. Quinshon Judkins getting the run game going in cold weather, and then hopefully Shadur Sanders can, when asked upon, can deliver in areas that we saw him do last week. So to kind of, before I'll get a prediction off you at the very end, but I kind of just want to finally talk about obviously how big of a game this is for you guys. I said this is not a big game for the Browns. If anything, the only thing riding on this game is draft position. So this is not a big game for us. Whereas for you guys, the current NFL website has a loss for you, reducing your playoff chances to 43%, whereas a win would increase your chances to 70%. With the Lions playing the Rams this week, you could probably chalk that as likely going to be a Rams win. How big of a win is it this week? I know it's the Browns, but how big of a win is it this week for you guys to get?
Well, it's a big win. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're playing, because come the end of it, if it's a one in the win column, then it counts just as much against
Yep.
it. So, and Ben Johnson's been very clear that his expectation is the Bears need at least 11 wins to secure a playoff spot. We're on 9 at the moment, and the games we've got left aren't easy.
Yeah.
Like you said, this should on paper be the easiest one. So I think it's crucial to get that one, so that we only need 1 or maybe 2 more. So if we can get this one and then eke out a win against the Niners or the Lions or something, that'd be great. But yeah, I think it's crucial, because without a win this week against the Browns, then the Bears are very much on the back foot again, especially in the NFC North. The Packers
Yeah.
are going to chalk up another win. You said the Lions are playing the Rams, and it's likely that the Rams should win that, but I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
One of them games. So yeah, it's the way things stand in the division at the moment, and any loss has the potential to set you right back and leave you chasing the tails of the other teams ahead of you.
Yeah.
And hoping that they slip up. And you like with any team, you want your fate to be in your own hands. You don't want to be relying on other teams to slip up.
Yeah.
You want to be in there because you're winning enough games yourself.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. You win this game, and it's your destiny that you control.
Yeah.
You're still in the driving seat. It's still all down to you guys. Whereas you said, if you lose this game and the Bears do pull out a win against the Lions do pull out a win against the Rams, then obviously you're no longer in control of your destiny. So this is a big one for you guys. I said it earlier. This is the most winnable game left on your schedule. If it's to me, I think you guys win this game, and I think you win at least 1 more of those 3 games to make the playoffs. And I will be happy about that, because as I said at the start, I am the resident Bears fan on my podcast whenever the Browns aren't mentioned. So I'm looking forward to this one. As I said, this is it's not really any way of me losing this game, because even if my team loses, the draft position improves. Caleb Williams, who I like, gets closer to the playoffs. This is going to just be a fun game for me, if I'm completely honest. I'm looking forward to it regardless of the weather. Always good to see Caleb Williams play. Always good to see a Ben Johnson team. I'm big into the modern way of coaching NFL teams that Ben Johnson likes to run. I'm a big fan of Ben Johnson, so really looking forward to this one. But to finish it off, I will get a prediction off you. It can be score prediction, game prediction, whatever you want. What is your prediction for this game?
If I was going to score prediction, I'd say Bears win.
Yeah.
24. It's a bit high, but yeah, 24-10. I think the Browns will sneak in a touchdown at some point. I think there will be some kind of lapse on defense, but yeah. So 24-10 to the Bears. I'm gonna probably 2 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown, and a field goal from Cairo, hopefully in the conditions. And then I do worry that Caleb will be sacked the most he's been in any game this season, though. So I think that's my negative prediction.
If that's the case and the Browns still lose, as I said, I'll take it. If Myles Garrett breaks the record, but it means the Browns lose, I'll take it. That's my Super Bowl really for the rest of the year, Alex, is Myles Garrett breaking the record. So that's pretty much the only thing I've got left to root for this year, other than Carson Schwessinger winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's something else I'm obviously going for. But my prediction, yes, Bears win. But I do think it will be closer. than I think, just because of the weather, just because of how good the Browns defense is. I think this game will be closer than maybe some people will chalk it up to be. I'm not sure what the under is, but I think it probably will be the under. And I'm going to go, you know what, 17-14 to the Bears. Close game. I'm sure you'll be, sweaty palms throughout it, but obviously do enough just to eke out the win. And to be honest, that would be the best case scenario in a loss for the Browns, is that we get a close game, we get to see some positive stuff from Shadur. And obviously, keep it a little bit more respectable. But that's my thoughts on the game. That's Alex's thoughts on the game. Do you have anything else final you want to input for this game, Alex?
Just win. I just need the Bears to win. You're not in a single score game, and too many of those we've had this season where it's just come to the last play, and like you say, sweaty palm, squeaky bum time. But yeah, we've come out on top of most of those this season, so hopefully we'll do that again.
Yeah, I mean, you compare last season where you pretty much lost most of those games, and then obviously this season you're on the opposite side of that. So before I let you go, Alex, let everyone know where they can find you on social media, where they can find the work that you do for Franchise Tag, etc.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter and not Twitter, X, and Instagram at AlexEvans487. Where you can find me on the Franchise Tag UK, where I do the college show with Andrew Manning, and also at Gridiron Magazine, who I mainly cover college football for. I've got a weekly column on the website, and stuff coming up. The latest issue's out now. I've got an article of mine in, and then the upcoming issues I'll be doing college season recaps.
Yeah. I encourage everyone to go check out Alex's work. He does a great job over there at Franchise Tag. I'm sure in the off-season, Alex, when I'm talking Browns draft and some of these college players and prospects, I'm sure I'll have you on to talk about some of these guys then. But I will link all the links in the description where you can find Alex, where you can find his work. Alex, thank you so much for joining me today, giving me some of your time to talk about the Cleveland Browns, because, to be honest, not many people, rightfully so, are too willing to come on and do that for a 3-10 football team. So I do appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Good luck in this game, and good luck for the rest of the season. I really am rooting for the Bears to make the playoffs.
Great. Cheers, mate. Thanks very much.
No worries.